So what did you teach?
So I was a special needs teacher. I had little ones. They were 4 to 6 years old and had pretty serious challenges. Most of the little ones I worked with didn't have language. One had a really severe hearing loss. Uh, these were kids who had a lot of potential, but they needed a lot of help to get there. And I love teaching. I
Me
love it.
too.
Yep.
And the littles are the best. I was a
Oh,
kindergarten teacher, so
oh,
I just
then you know.
biased. Yeah,
You know.
they're
They
the
are the.
best. Why did you become a teacher?
So I grew up in a family. Nobody in my family had ever been to college. My daddy ended up as a janitor. My mom ended up working the phones at Sears. And I had a second grade teacher, Mrs. Lee. Oh, Mrs. Lee. Her room was bright and cheerful, and she had these giant posters on the wall of pandas and kitties and all kinds of things. And it was just a place to be. I loved second grade. I never missed a single day of second grade. No difference. My mother thought I was sick, didn't matter. I was going to school because Mrs. Lee would be there. So Mrs. Lee let me run a reading group. So I was a good reader. And there were a little handful of kids who needed more practice reading out loud. And so she'd let me sit with these 4, 5, 6 kids, and we'd all read out loud from our readers. And one day, Mrs. Lee gathered me up into her very ample bosom and said to me, "Miss Betsy, someday you could become a teacher." And it was like if we were doing the movie, not only would the doors fling open, they would fling open so hard and so fast they would go clank back when they would hit the walls. It's like door opens, light shines, and literally for the rest of my growing up, anything that would happen, I would always stand up just a little taller and say, "I'm going to be a teacher." And my whole life moved in that direction then. I read more books because that's what teachers do. And I took different classes in junior high because that's what teachers do. If you want to be a teacher, you've got to go on to school. And it was just kind of everything aimed in that direction. And I loved it.
I just love that so much. And I have kind of a fun question. Back when I was in school, I got a lot of talks too much on my report cards, not in like a punitive way, out of love, but like this girl loves to chit chat. And I was wondering if you remember if you got any fun or interesting report card comments ever.
That was exactly the comment I would get from the wall. And it would be Betsy, because that's what I was called back then when I was in elementary school. And it would be, "Betsy does her work very well and, is a pleasure to have in class, but she needs to control her talking a bit more." um, and every year, teachers would move me around.
Oh, yeah.
I think trying to put me next to the kid who, no matter what, would never talk.
It's like,
Because I was happy to go along with what was going on in class, but man, after a minute, let's do a few comments about it. Let's what do you think about and yeah, but I did have the talks too much.
yeah.
Was on my report card more than once. In fact, Chuck Schumer may still be writing that on my report card in the United Senate. Talks too much. It's
I
always from a
don't.
good place in the heart, but talks too much.
Yeah. So, what do you think that you've carried from your teaching days into politics? Do you see crossover in what you do now with what you did then at all?
I do. I think of it this way. I always thought about teaching is that you had to understand. So where is this student? What's the part that they don't have yet that I want to make sure they get? Whether it's special needs students or whether it was with my law students or teaching Sunday school, 5th grade. That was one of my highlights in teaching. I tell you, stories there. But But each time it was always trying to think through, so what's needed? And if I can find that, if I can figure out where you are, then we can join hands and we can start to fill that in. And I discover being in a legislature, in a Congress, that there's an element of that. It's not all the time, it's not perfect, but there's an element of, oh, I see what you're worried about. I'm worried about that thing too. Let's see if we can't reach across and try to make something better. First big bill that I got passed, I mean big in the sense that I kind of came up with it on my own, was actually a bill about hearing aids. And it was about breaking the monopoly around hearing aids, that just a small handful of hearing aid manufacturers really controlled the entire hearing aid trade in the United States. Very complicated how they figured this out and gotten all this legal protection. And that meant the price of hearing aids, 2 hearing aids, could run $6,000. And it also meant that about 5 out of 6 people with serious hearing loss couldn't afford a hearing aid and didn't get one. And that has all kinds of terrible implications. It's not just you turn up the TV louder, it's you don't go to the grocery store because you don't like to get out and you're afraid to drive, and you don't spend time with other people, and your grandchildren, or you don't spend time with them. So I really wanted to get the price of hearing aids down. And I still remember I called the oldest member of the Senate, Chuck Grassley, and said, hearing aids are a real problem. They cost too much money. And Grassley started in. He said, boy, I certainly do. And he went on about it. And I said, I got an idea for how we could fix that. And by golly, we linked up. We broke the monopoly. Oh, you ready for this? Donald Trump signed it into law. It was during his first term. It was one of the first things. True. Signed it into law. And today, when you go into a drugstore, you'll see off to the sign, for $799, you can get a really high quality hearing aid anywhere in the country. And if you do some shopping online, you can even beat that price. That's a pretty amazing thing. And now a lot of people are getting help that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. So all that really comes from teaching. You want to get something done, get a teacher.
Ugh, I love it so much. What keeps you fighting for public education? Like, what is the core of what you think makes public education so crucial to our democracy and our country?
Public education is our future. Every teacher I know makes an investment every single day in the future of this child, in the future of this family, in the future of this community, in the future of this country, and in the future of this world. That's what teaching is. It's building tomorrows. In the short term, in the long term, I believe in that more than anything else. We build a future, and we do that on the foundation of we value every kid in this country. Not just the rich kids, not just the pretty kids, not just the kid who gets her hand up first. We value all of our children, and we make that investment. And to me, that's the heart of what public education is about. It says we value our future, and we show that by investing in our children.